This morning is my dearest partner,
Number one, Ambassador. My name is Robin Emmanuel Oluwafemi, aka MC Brio, and you know I will do it on Friday on the Bomber Breakfast Show. Just gonna enjoy yourself as usual, laugh, smile, play, talk important issues. And
I like the fact that
one of my godfathers is around. The last time I saw him, promised to give me money. He did not say it out, but I heard in his mind. And today, the deal must be done.
The deal. I guess this morning, Alhaji Rasak Olokoba, the singular man who is campaigning, in fact, the president, the chairman of the Polygamy.
I like the way you introduce him, I swear.
The Polygamy Association of Nigeria. When we are off the issue of polygamy and marriage, we're talking about CSOs across Nigeria. Is a coordinator and, of course, a businessman. But let's go to the place that matters. The only man that understands the needs of women.
You know, when a woman is telling that to her husband, you know she needs something. My dear, you know one thing about you. You understand what women want. You have to wait till next month too. This lady are called all the road the next month, never.
All right, we're talking about the fear of Nigerian women this morning, and we have Alhaji Rasak Olokoba as our guest. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Brother.
Yes, it's interesting to be here to talk about this with Alhaji because, like I said, he seems to think that the biggest solution to some of the crises in the world as we speak is that of polygamy. And he has been proposing that when one man marries more than one or embraces more than one, and women accept to have sisters in their marriages, sisters that can have the authority to sleep with their husbands. You know, when women accept such, they will have peace of mind. But then this morning, we want to talk about, since it's International Women's Day week, and we are still looking at so many issues facing the average Nigerian woman, we want to look at the biggest fear of the Nigerian woman from the perspective of a man. Alhaji, what do you think Nigerian women are mostly scared about?
Well, the first thing you have to quickly look at is to try to understand the cultural crisis that we find ourselves in Africa. You know, we have said that a country that borrows someone's culture is not likely to prosper.
Yes.
So it creates crisis of perspective for our women. And the truth is, men still looking for what do Nigerian women really want.
Okay.
Because when you talk about a typical Nigerian woman, who wants the husband to behave like a typical Nigerian man, who picks all the bills, who do everything.
The typical olden days Nigerian man.
Nigerian man. Well, I'm still a typical Nigerian man as far as I'm concerned.
Anybody
that doesn't behave like me is not a Nigerian man.
It's a foreign man.
Yes, so anybody that has not seen the need to take care of his husband from head to toe, as far as I'm concerned, which has the capacity within his capacity.
A man within his capacity that takes care of all of his wife's bills, all of the bills at home, all of the children's bills.
That was what we grew to know.
That is in Nigeria, a typical.
Nigeria. So the needs of women, a typical Nigerian woman is my husband's will. Then suddenly, it then reflects a woman who also wants his mind to behave like an European man. So we are all confused that which one do you want? Do you want me to behave like a typical Nigerian man, or do you want me to behave like an European man? And the reason why
what's the difference?
Because I was going to ask how does local man and
a typical Nigerian man is a man who sees the need of his wife. That is important. But the European version of a Nigerian man is a Nigerian man who feels that let me give my wife the freedom to determine a lot of things. But closely beside it is tied to responsibility. And that's where Nigerian women create confusion for us. That you can't ask a man to sort out all your needs and suddenly be
submissive.
No, you submissive. That's it. And suddenly you are still asking him that as a Nigerian man, you must also allow me to behave like an European woman who does A, B, C, D, but not picking the responsibility. Okay. For instance, now, if I'm going to pick the bill of my wife from A to Z, you should know that there will be fatigue. They should know that. So there are things that a man finds difficult to do when he comes back from work, because he's
like
doing,
house chores.
because he has done all works 24 hours to make you happy. Then suddenly you want to say, whereas the example a Nigerian woman will give you is his colleague in Europe, in America, whose husband cook for her,
Okay.
whose husband wash her car.
Okay.
But behind the scene, that same husband and this woman shares the bill. So in Nigeria, they create that you create that confusion for us, that which one do you want? Do you want me to do everything, but you must support me? That is I won't be able to do if you want me to do everything for you.
Okay.
You don't say no, this is 21st century. And the 21st century is that you and in Nigeria, okay, I accept. Then you don't tell them to say that Nigeria are irresponsible now. They are sharing bill with us. But you are the one that define my role for me. You said I should be doing everything for you. And your corresponding role is to support me. But if you now suddenly see a picture of an European woman again, whose husband does A, B, C, D for her, you now refuse to do what the European woman does.
Which is to support and share bills.
And support the husband and share the bill. So that is why it is difficult for a Nigerian man to actually understand a Nigerian woman, that what do you really, because in Africa, even this International Women's Day, there's a cultural angle to it. When a woman says that you want some freedom, you want some, and I laugh at the African women that, see, the European women understand their men. Go and look at the history of Western men, what their women has gone through in their hand. Now is their time to rule. There was never a time that an African woman has done what the Western woman has done to their women. Go and check history. The movie we watched 20, 30 years ago, it's not the movie we watched. The movie we watched those time are men harassing women, harassing them. Now movies, you see, John Wayne, all these women. And if you watch it, if you can remember, you connect clearly. This is not the movie we watched. It's not the attitude of movie we watched 30 years ago. Things have changed. Women has won the battle against their men in Europe. But at one time, we don't need some of these cultural issues, because in Africa, in Africa, you don't need a legislation to pay your children's school fees. You don't need legislation for you to say that you want child support. If you are not married, I had a divorce at the moment. I don't need legislation to pay the school fees of given to me by that woman. I pay their school fee. I do a sort of thing, but in Europe you need legislation because they may not pay. So that's
because
the crisis.
you're saying this because you think that is the natural.
It is an inbuilt thing to us in Africa. In
I think so. But how many men actually share that sentiment? Don't you think it is a result of men not sharing that sentiment of carrying the responsibility?
No, it is you that came back with Beijing resolution that created confusion for. So the young men, these people are younger than us these days, are very comfortable with European style. The European style is maybe it's just to
this
help
new
you
generation.
Maybe it's just to worship, but we'll pay them together. We shall say, okay, let's go. It's okay by me. And that is the crisis we find ourselves today. That this kind of double standard is creating a lot of trauma for our women. Our women are getting punished for not understanding the real thing they want, thinking that you want to behave like an European woman, and at the same time that no, my father didn't ask my mother to pay rent now. But your mother did not also.
Alhaji, sorry, sir.
Make these demands.
I feel it's a choice, in a marriage or a courtship to decide if you want to adopt the European style,
yes,
or you want to adopt the local style.
Yes.
In my own little understanding, I always feel like understanding in either courtship or marriage really matters.
But you know there are societal values, which molds the way you run your family. It molds you. In the value in Africa before was that if you can't do it now. So the societal values guides you and now in the way you behave in your own house, and that value indicates that husband in Africa is a serious business. It's not a joke. I remember how my father would struggle to do all sorts of things to make sure we are happy. And I inherited it. I live my life for my family. I drive SUV, but I don't drive SUV again. But my wife drive SUV. This gets in that. But I want my children to be happy. I want my wife to be happy. I want them to live a good life. So, in my own house, there's a limit to how Western ideas crept into our own family. Because it's natural for you to know that a man needs a therapy. A man needs a matrimonial therapy when he comes back from office. If you sit down like this and he's not watching television, he's looking for how to pick the bill the next day.
Oh, so when African men actually sit back and
Yes.
relax,
Bills.
they're actually thinking of bills.
Of bills.
Until you get to that age, you won't understand what
You
your
won't
father was
understand
thinking
Business,
about.
building.
So it will be unfair to now say that at that moment, you now say that, my dear, that soup in the pot, I want to go and take my bath. That
Warm
soup
it.
in
So
the
microwave
work
it.
pot, I won't even hear. Because in my own house, my father has 3 wives. I'm not saying this should be a model for anybody. I have 3 wives. I have 2 sisters. I have people who are living with my father, 7 women in my father's house. So I have no business in the kitchen at all. If I make a mistake, it is a common thing in our generation that if you go to the kitchen, they will use that soup pot or spoon and make sure that like 5 women will hold your hand. So I distance myself away from the kitchen. I don't know how to cook up to today. Because I know that why would I be cooking? Why would I be taking
Your job is to
responsibility?
provide.
My wife will feel bad about it if I start learning how to cook. She
And
won't
your
be-
job is to provide.
But it just
But Alhaji, let me ask you, in this whole scenario
it is
that
not
you've
wrong
painted,
for
I
women.
say, I like this conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
in this whole scenario that you've painted, because then a lot of men will be watching us and saying, you see, that man is saying that he does not cook for his wife. Alhaji, which of the bills does your wife pick?
I can't remember any basic picture except fabrication. I used to do this. I used to do this.
Because
I didn't see
the thing is- the thing
I
is-
don't see the
Tell
grace
me,
my wife.
my-
pick.
my-
And that's the grace with my
So-
mother too. My mother also said that she picks 1B, picks 1B. My father we don't understand the bills she says she picks. If you over with children, are you picking all those bills? My own children. So my own wife, I don't remember the bills.
Because
that
the
she picks.
significant bills, the important ones,
I have picked it already.
sorted
I
out.
have sorted out. So I don't remember the picks she's
Do
picking.
you give your wife works, right? Or is she?
She's working and her money is her money. She's her money.
Do you
And
give
you
her
still
allowance?
give her allowance.
Why? See, there's no man that will.
You will give allowance directly or indirectly.
Indirectly, either directly, either conventionally, or conventionally.
I want us to be clear. Do
You
you
must
give?
give your wife allowance. That's why.
So
that's
there is
why-
allowance
and
in
that's
the
why
midst of
even-
all of this.
Yes, that's why I'm saying that.
Alhaji,
That's why I'm saying that.
even after you
Society-
establish or she's working.
Yes, that's
and
why.
her money is her
That's why I'm
money.
saying that a society must work on a model of the world you want to build. In the Europe, if your wife, it's difficult to give your wife allowance. That's where they design their own society, because they work out a model where all the including the children must be working. But our own society before now,
Children
we
don't
design
work.
a model. We design a model where our men, the
They are 100%
assists.
responsible.
The system assists the
For
men
all.
because they know what you are into. It assists us almost as if there's a men allowance in all the work we do. This kind of work, madam will close and go to the go. What if I work in the same office with a man? When my father was, when I remember I used to go to my father's office, his colleagues who were directors would say, madam, you can go, but my father will stay back as men, and I see his colleagues and I do extra work, and I think they were paid for that. So we design a society to assist your men. But if you imbibe a strange culture and you don't build an institution
To
to
support
make
the
that
culture.
culture work, you imbibe a culture where that culture, look at it in the rest of the world. You don't build children, but there are institutions in the rest of the world. If your children laugh too much, you take it to a certain place to go for therapy.
Protest.
If your child is hyperactive, all my family were hyperactive. My children, someone came in to us and say, in London, your children will be taken to us, which hyperactive, which is this one again. Because in Africa, we make sure that all family members pay attention to children of everybody. That's our own institution. But in their own society, they create physical institutions like this that they don't have time to start. The old people don't stay with their children.
They have
They
old
stay
people's
out.
home,
And they
they
don't
have
feel bad
daycare.
about it. In Africa, if you take your mother to an home, it's not a good thing for your mother. Your mother stays with you. So your society, you must. That's why the Chinese people, the Indians, and some other countries in the world don't allow that culture to get into
To
their own
infiltrate.
because it will create a
with the
crisis for
culture.
them. Look, if you watch Indian movie, they build a big house, where this one will stay in this wing, that will stay in that wing.
All the
all the children and all the family
They don't
members.
allow it to break because they know that it's become a genetic thing for them.
But then the
Yes,
fear of
particularly.
us, Alhaji, women, I'm a woman, and we're mostly scared that when we do not, put this help me with this, help me with that culture in place. Of course, let's look at our environment as we speak. Women tend to work a lot. You're not closing, like you said, at 4 p.m. any longer. This is our reality as we speak. Now, if this man is this person that doesn't help with all of the other things at home, we expect him to be able to pick up support in other ways, not just financially. Things like take me out occasionally, buy me gifts. Is that part of the things that African men used to do?
Yes.
Or did we import that one too as well?
No, that's a good thing. That to nice your wife up, to take her around, make her live good life. It's okay. Our generation takes their wife for holiday now.
You keep talking about your generation. So basically, I think
because
it's
it's a generational issue. Our own generation resisted this thing that you were saying. We were
taking
resisting.
wives out.
No. I mean,
Buying gifts.
no. What I mean is that the woman playing a
significant
role at home. We were resisting it, that the right you were acting for, that I should be working for, it comes with responsibility too. We kept standing that note of warning. So people who were younger than us, in their 30s, in their 20s, came and said it's a fine arrangement. They didn't complain about it. And it's creating a crisis for our society now. Because we have not built our society to accommodate such a new culture. There's no preparation for it. And we said this is what we are saying. And today, hardly will you see a man of 30s, without talking of a man, a woman that a lady, I can't marry. What's language they normally use?
I can't marry a liability. She has to be working.
I think in Alhaji's generation,
she has to be
full housewife.
No, not full housewife. She
They were
works.
working.
My mom works. Everywhere they work that time, but the working at that
All
time.
the stepmothers were working.
Yes, one of them was a teacher. My mother was a trader. But they call me in my. Well, I can't be saying this in here, but what I'm saying is that my mother works. The number 2 person worked. The number 3 person was a teacher, and she won't even give my father. If you start saying that there's no super, there's no. You can't even. I've not had them. My wife, my dad telling one of the wives to go and use her money to buy pepper. I never had it from my father. So, but today is a common thing. And
naturally, when the woman is just coming from work, she just buys all the pepper and the meat and all that. And she doesn't come up with the mindset of getting it back.
That's now.
Yes.
That's today.
Yes, she comes back with the mindset of, I'm contributing to the family.
Alhaji, today, I feel when a woman is doing something, when you don't even ask her, she's coming back, then she got something, let me just do it. She's going to collect like times 3. If she did not
because you were trained by men like Alhaji.
No, that's
do you know that some men? Do you know some men actually would say, are we not eating the food together today?
Well,
is my children your children? Are we not living in the same house together?
I don't think.
Okay, you bought lights and so what? Didn't we use the lights? How many times do I stay in this house?
All those ones say really they are not right to me. That's like a man that doesn't know his
and it's a common phenomenon.
And you see the problem, and it's not common.
And
which is
in the West, it's not an issue. This thing is not an issue at all.
You were trained by the old people.
So in the West, this scenario is not an issue in the rest of in the Western world. It's a regular day-to-day life where it's expected that you must contribute, I must contribute, so that even if you separate, if it is the woman that is more prosperous than the man, it is the woman that will be paying child support to the man for taking care of the children. So they work their own society, fine for them. You can't blame them for that.
But it doesn't work for us.
But what we are saying is that for us here, we must determine what do our women want. Do you want a typical Nigerian man? Do you want a man to start behaving like a Western man? And you must
or do you want a westernized Nigerian man?
And you must admit
or a typical.
The change is that it's no longer going to be a trend that you call a man irresponsible if you start sharing the bill with you. But that is the price of the Western culture that you are talking about. That's the price.
But then,
Alhaji,
just before we round off this conversation, how then do we encourage the men to appreciate and accept the chivalry the chivalrous nature
Regard-
of the old man.
Regardless,
it's,
Regardless of the culture. Because
So let's just talk about
you're talking
man.
like this. My brothers are like
for me now, it's like
So,
asking me
I
that.
don't understand what you're
Wait,
talking
for it's like asking me now that someone's come and give me orientation not to embrace
So
polygamy again. It's difficult for me. For also for us who are into it, it's very difficult to do that because we have seen the good thing is potent for society, having more than one woman. The good things it brings to society, what it gives more value to women, gives more respect to women. Rather than living
No. He said, Alhaji said something. He said it gives more value to women.
Yes, rather
if
than
there are 2 or 3 in your house.
Yes, we have more than one. It gives more value to women. It encourages the culture of engagement, competition, rather than having one.
healthy competition.
Yes, rather than having one and having several.
Alhaji, in this century.
Oh,
In this century.
so Alhaji,
In this century, we are talking about
clarify.
is a century where a man, most men like you, me, everybody watching us at home, have one wife at home, are committed to keep kissing the ring all the time, my wife, and have children outside. That's not fair.
And
So
girlfriend.
instead, bring them in,
Bring them home,
marry
train
officially.
train them, give them dignity and respect, because in the world today, the highest rate of juvenile delinquency in the world today is as a result of a single parent.
Okay.
You leave the child with woman. It's not fair on women. And that's our pain. It's not fair at all on women.
Just bring the woman in.
Alhaji, I feel you have all
women
resources.
It's
You
not about
know,
resources.
and you have all resources
Once you
to
have
take care of
three,
them.
you have become an investor. If you have three, you start thinking like an industrialist. If you have four, you go living from the fruit of your labor. If you try to have five, you are working shoulder with Dangote. And it's not likely for you to die young if you have six wives. It's not likely.
I don't know. It's like wait. Like I'm hearing opposite of things I was oriented about when I was growing up. Because my father got married to just one wife before he died.
You won't know until you
And-
get into it.
And my father said his grandfather did not marry two wives. His father did not marry two wives. He did not marry two wives. So before he died, he called my brother and I and said,
For
"Don't marry two
men
wives."
whose family have that gene of one wife, don't try. Just face your face.
That's your
It's
gene.
face.
That's your
It's
gene.
No, if I
Oh,
want
did
to
your
follow
father
Alhaji,
did your father have girlfriends outside?
my father never cheated on my mom. That's the funny thing.
And that's
I don't- that's a good it's the culture of your family.
Are you telling me I will not cheat?
That's the example of a monogamy we should be preaching.
Alhaji, come and go. Come and go.
Alhaji,
I want to
let's
say a big thank you to Alhaji Rasak Olokoba before he indoctrinates Robin Emmanuel into the polygamy.
No, I'm just trying to understand
Alhaji, thank you for
something
coming.
so that I can
Alhaji,
talk with
all
people
this
to
talk after.
outside.
Alhaji, thank you for coming.
Alhaji,
I want to take a
personal
break.
training
Somi
and
is in the
personal
studio and we're
orientation.
talking Friday motivation.
Personal
Shut up.
orientations.
Shut up.
Alhaji, please
We'll
don't
be
go.
back shortly.
I'll meet you in the car.